if it's streaming. There's gonna be a Buildspace event in I think around 2 hours and something, 2 hours and 20 minutes. So I think I'm gonna stream for 2 hours and then go to the event. I was thinking about whether or not to stream before or after this event, but I decided to stream before. The reason why is because I'm trying to fix this thing here, and I'm not sure. I'm just gonna have to spend some time thinking on what to do here. I think the problem is because of the state. The way that I'm updating there, I changed the whole thing yesterday so that I'm putting all the code for the node component on this file. And here I'm just manually creating like a simple data structure that is gonna be the same data that I'm gonna try to format the graph. The nodes are gonna have this structure here, the ID, name, position, and neighbors. And then based on that, I render the node component there, and I pass some of this stuff as props. And then from that, I also have this node cache, which I set up here as I set up the nodes as well. And the node cache is going to contain the positions, the node and the position of all the nodes, so I can update here on top based on the neighbors. But I think what the problem here is that I'm not updating the node position. I don't know, like it's either a node position or a node cache ID that I'm not updating correctly. I don't know which one. I think it's the node position because I wasn't being able to do the node cache because I was setting state the wrong way. Okay, I saw a bunch of videos, and from what I saw, I thought that I can spread this variable here if I pass as a function and then just put the new ones. But you can't do that. You have to pass the object. So I'm passing this object to the context as well. Now, when I'm updating here with the new position based on the ID, and also you have to put on brackets so the variable is the actual ID variable and not just ID. So based on that, I'm updating because I'm passing the set node cache as well through the context. And this updates the position of the neighbors, I think. It should update maybe it's not updating the neighbors correctly then. Because because I'm using this variable here and I'm updating this variable there. So it's probably updating this one correctly and not this one. Because the issue here is that I need to get the position of the current nodes, which is on these variables, and update based on the neighbors, which are on the cache here. And then now, recently, what I was doing just now is just pass this set, thinking about passing the set nodes here as well. Because maybe that's the problem. So I pass set nodes and nodes through the context as well, and then I spread. But now I have to figure out how to spread in the correct way because I can't do it like this. Probably I have to use the object.assign thing. Because what I want is to get one object and update that object inside of the nodes. But the thing is, I'm not sure if that's the problem or not. Node caches. Also, I'm gonna have to pass the neighbors as well as props if I wanna do it like this. Because then I need to pass here inside of this object. Now it is updating. The thing is this, that's another problem, is when they are on top of each other. There's no way to separate them later if they use gesture. So I probably have to think about a way to stop like overlapping of nodes. I guess I'll have to console log there. I didn't want to do this because kind of annoying. The thing is, I'm gonna know if it's changing or not. It looks like it's different here. So it has to be the other one. It's not updating correctly. It's probably because the objects are not the same. Oh, it looks like it is updating as well. So what's up with that? If both of them are updating, then I don't understand what's wrong. Because it's supposed to be the end and the start position of the line. It should be the position of the node. Yeah, the position of the node should be updated through this thing here. So I wouldn't need to pass the set nodes here, I think. Oh, but maybe I do because it's not the same thing. because here I'm creating this stuff here. Maybe I need to pass as a function here. This probably won't solve. So the thing that these nodes are based on something different than the variables inside of the node component. That's why I think that I need to pass probably as the context here. And this should be the end position, I think. The one that is connected to the node. No, the position. No, maybe that's the start. Yeah, the problem is that I'm updating the position of the... I'm updating the position of the node, but I'm not updating the position of the neighbors. That's the issue. So before it was passing the connected true. And then through the connected true, it was updating by mapping there. So I think what I have to do is just map here and then update here. And then I don't need to map here. Yeah, but the thing is that it needs to map here because of the
I believe that if we are honest with
the variables.
That the most fascinating problem in the world is who am I? What do you mean? What do you feel?
Like I need to update here because of the lines.
Say the word I.
But I think mapping twice is kind of bad. It is bad, actually.
I don't think there can be any more fascinating preoccupation than that.
How can I solve this?
Because it's so mysterious. It's so elusive. Because what you are in your inmost being...
Like I am updating the correct way here, but I'm not updating the correct values.
The same way that you can't look directly into your own eyes without using a mirror.
But then how did it work before?
You can't bite your own teeth. You can't taste your own tongue. And you can't touch the tip of this
Let's do the reference.
with the tip of this finger. And that's why there's always an element of profound mystery in the problem of who we are.
Because the position of the other nodes shouldn't change. When you move only one node. And didn't you remember how the other way worked? Because I don't understand really well. It was passing the ref as both the reference, and then the connected true would be the references to the other nodes. And then you would get the position of the other nodes that way. And the way that I'm doing, I'm caching the position of all nodes through here.
I've made many inquiries. What do you mean by the word I?
But why did I thought to do like
There is
this?
a certain consensus about this, a certain agreement, especially among people who live in Western civilization. Most of us feel I, ego, myself, my source of consciousness, to be a center of awareness and of a source of action that resides in the middle of a bag of skin. And so we have what I have called the conception of ourselves as a skin-encapsulated ego. Now, it's very funny how we use the word I. if we just refer to common speech, we are not accustomed to say, I am a body. We rather say, I have a body.
I have to remember how it was on the other way. And this one also has the same problem. So the difference on this one, I think, is that it sets the nodes here. And then based on the nodes, it changes the parent one through the context. Yeah, this is the context. So I think this is the problem, is because I'm not updating the nodes, so it doesn't loop there. I don't want to pass all the nodes as well. So how can I do it?
We don't say, I beat my heart, in the same way as we say, I walk, I think, I talk. We feel that our heart beats itself, and that has nothing very much to do with I. In other words, we don't regard I myself as identical with our whole physical organism. We regard it as something inside us. And most Western people locate their ego inside their heads. You are somewhere between your eyes and between your ears, and the rest of you dangles from that point of reference. But by and large, we locate ourselves behind the eyes and somewhere between the ears, as if within the dome of the skull there was some sort of arrangement such as there is at the SAC headquarters in Denver, where there are men in great rooms surrounded with radar screens and all sorts of things, and earphones on, watching all the movements of planes all over the world. So in the same way, we have really the idea of ourselves as a little man inside our heads who has earphones on, which bring messages from the ears, and who has a television set in front of him, which brings messages from the eyes, and all sorts of electrode things are all over his body, giving him signals from the hands and so on, and he has a panel in front of him with buttons and dials and things, and so he more or less controls the body, but he isn't the same as the body, because I am in charge of what are called the voluntary actions, and what are called involuntary actions of the body. They happen to me. I am pushed around by them, but to some extent also I can push my body around. This, I have concluded, is the ordinary, average conception of what is oneself.
Yeah, I think that probably is not updating this one. But it should be updating. I don't understand like why it's not working. Because it shouldn't be necessary to update the neighbors, because they're always going to be the same in the beginning, since the beginning. And then I'm using the ID from the neighbor to get the new position on the cache. Like when I move the node, it's not gonna change that position, the position of the neighbors. It just changes the position of the node. The other thing that is annoying me, I think I tried to change here before, but it doesn't work. And I don't understand why in the beginning, so that like they are not so close together. If I increase too much, then it fails. Let's see here, it's connected here. Let me think. I think it updates the start, but it doesn't update the end. Because when I update it here, it should be updating this one as well. The reason why I'm doing the way that I'm doing now is so I can avoid using the reference. Because I can't, or not really sure if I can't, but I think it's a harder way to try to figure out how to create the refs dynamically. Because it's more complicated than just creating the refs. Like I'm gonna have to think about the data structure of the graph and all the different ways that I'll have to structure the data from the way that I receive the data to build the visualization later. So I wanna couple the references of each element with the data structure. Like the way that's, because then depending on the way that I set up the data structure for the visualization, it becomes impossible to structure the refs, I think, if I do it using refs. So I think it's better to try to do it with use state. And then doing everything on the same component. Like in my mind, this value should change every time there's a change in one of the values here. So every time the node caches change, should change that. Let me think. It's updating the lines based on the positions. It's because, yeah, I think that the error that I have there is that I'm updating only one position of one node, and because here it's getting the reference for the nodes, it has a position that was changed before. That's the problem. Because when you move one node, it changes only one position. But then if you move another node, the other position, like the other node is gonna have the perspective that the position of the other node was the same as it was before, maybe. Maybe that's the problem. But it looks like both positions are changing when I console log there. This is why it's weird. Neighbors. I think it's because the state here is not related to the nodes. The position that I'm changing here, that's the problem. Yeah, I think that's the issue. So I'm initializing them with this thing here. Doesn't have anything to do with the component. So when I update the component, it doesn't change the nodes. And it doesn't trigger the thing there. It does trigger... I think one way to test this is to remove this thing here. Yeah, there we go. So that's the problem. So the node cache thing is working, but the nodes is not working. So I need to update the nodes here. So it was what I was thinking before. Well, the challenge here is that I don't wanna pass all the nodes. I think that's not efficient. But the only way I think is if I... let me think. Unless I change the variable here. Yeah, maybe I can just use node cache and then node. And I think that I don't need like I don't need one of these, maybe if there's a better way to do it. That's what I feel, but I don't know how to, if that's the case or not, or how to change it if that's the case. The thing is, it's not gonna change. Oh, maybe it does change. Because I'm changing the node cache based on the node that moves there. But the neighbor is gonna be the same. Yeah, because node is not node's an object, not the thing. Now let me think. Yeah, node ID. Hey, there we go. Nice. So I think I don't need one of those true states there. And this arrow is also a little bit weird, so I think that I can just... I don't need this add here, because this add, I think the reason why he put it there is because of the two different things that he had there. So this should be in the center of the node, I think. Yeah. Nice. So I think I need to... Because I'm only updating the node cache here. That's the thing. Maybe I don't need to update the position of the node here, because I'm not gonna use that anyway. Oh, it uses here actually, so you have to update. Because then it's gonna pass this through the circle. So what I'm thinking about doing is just after... No, now it seems like it is working. So I think what I'm gonna do is just pass everything from here to this file. And then just delete these nodes here. And use this, like separate this, all of this stuff in one component. And then I can pass the props to this component, which is gonna be the data. And then from the data I have to create a function that receives the data, which is gonna be, I think it's gonna be an array of objects actually, because like each frame is gonna contain global and local variables and maybe more information. So I think I can put all the information inside of an object for each frame and then append to the dictionary, so each object is going to be a frame. So I'm going to have to convert this list of objects into this data structure, which is going to be another list of objects, but then it's going to have each node, and the key is going to be the node and the value is going to be the neighbors, the other, and I think it's going to be separated just by the ID here. It's probably the simplest way I can think now. And then through the ID I get the rest of the information to build the graph. And it's gonna get a lot more complicated obviously, because then there's all like the parameters that I can pass and different things like that to change the colors of the nodes, change the color of the line, and do a bunch of different stuff. That's where it gets complicated. So well, probably what I'm gonna do is separate these functions into another file, maybe another folder. It's just gonna be for this type of thing, like selecting how to do the visualization. Yeah, but I probably have to pass. It's probably better to pass all this stuff into this component. Delete the stuff that it has here. I think I'm temporarily gonna put into another file so I can think about it. I probably shouldn't put this stuff here. And do I put the canvas or not? I think I should probably put the canvas inside of the component as well. Because if I'm gonna do... Or maybe I wanna add like different elements separate from the network. Maybe it's better to separate the canvas. Like the way that I'm thinking about doing is first to... I think it's gonna be easier than I thought it would be if I use 3JS and React Fiber, because you pretty much already have everything like to build the visualization, which was the hardest part. If I like the issue is that the stuff that I was talking about yesterday, which I'm probably gonna have to do optimizations and spend a lot of time understanding how the graphics work, because I think that the biggest issue with this one is that gonna be really bad if you have thousands of nodes, so it's not scalable. But if I use this thing here, then the hardest part, I think, which is the visualization, is done. And then all I have to do is figure out the other parts. So probably what I'm gonna do now is just focus on closing the whole system, let's say. Like finishing all the parts of everything that I need. And then once I have everything set up, then I can iterate over that and then just make it better and better. And what I'm probably gonna do is just create like different routes. And each route is gonna use a different framework to load the graphs. And that way I think I can like make it better on the other ones. But I think it's better to build everything first with 3JS, even if it's not scalable, so I understand how all the connection of the system is gonna work. Because I need to clarify how to build the IDE and how to translate the stuff from the IDE into the visualization, into the canvas. And here, instead of doing this, I probably should do what he did. If they use layout effects there, I think. Just return this thing here. I'm gonna have to think about this, because obviously it's different on the stuff that I have there. But I think I should clean up the nodes on the return here. And obviously I'm gonna change this stuff so it receives the data instead of manually creating these things here. Actually, inside of this component, I actually don't think I need the nodes and set nodes. But maybe I do. I think I should have, and then I just make... Inside of the use effect, I just put a function that sets the nodes as the data, if there is data. Actually, maybe I should have children, because maybe I... No, but this one actually is probably not necessary, because the canvas is gonna be outside. So this is just gonna be closed to creating the graph network. I think the other props are probably gonna be stuff to customize the other components based on color and size, things like that. Also have to study the physics engine thing on the documentation to see how to create animations and physics. And actually, now that I think about it, maybe I don't need to set the context. because I can create global variables inside of this scope. And what I'm going to do is just pass this component here. The other thing that I did obviously is remove the forward graph from here and just transform this into a normal component. Yeah, so here, oh, let me think about it. I think the logic for doing this stuff I'll put outside of the components. Let's say it's a list of objects. So I'll probably have to create a function to change to get all the node cache. It's gonna be a dictionary with the IDs and maybe I don't need a function, just put here. Data, a map. Oh, let me think. I think it's not sure if I should change directly the node cache to have the ID in the position, or if I should create another dictionary here and then this use the set node cache to update. But probably I shouldn't do this inside of the use effect, I think. Or maybe I leave it outside of this component and then I just pass the cache. Maybe that's a better solution. I think that's what I'm gonna do.
Mummy, who would I have
I'll
been
think about this thing here
if
later.
my father had been someone else? You see, the child
Just trying to make sure that I didn't miss anything here so that it doesn't
that the father
screw up everything once I move everything to the same file.
was popped at some moment, whether it was conception or whether it was parturition.
So my idea is to separate everything that is necessary to create the network into the components and then make this component based on the data
A soul,
that it receives and then handle the structure of the data outside.
inside a body, and that we look out upon a world that is foreign to us. In the words of the poet Houseman, I, a stranger and afraid, in a world I never made.
Yeah, but this seems like it is correct.
So therefore we speak of
Yeah, I need to remove the canvas from this one.
reality, facing the facts.
Yeah, but then, let me think this is gonna work.
Coming into this world, and this whole sensation
I think,
that
yeah.
we are brought up to have of being
Like, should I
an island of consciousness, locked
put
up
something
to
that determines...
facing outside us a world that is profoundly alien to us in the sense that what is outside me is not me.
Maybe you should put based on data here.
This sets up a fundamental
Or all three of them.
sensation of
So the question is, should I... How should...
and this strange
If I should, how should I create the thing that makes sure that this is always wrapped inside of a canvas?
and therefore we go on to talk about the conquest of nature, the conquest of space,
I think I'll think about this later.
and view ourselves in a kind of battle array.
The other thing is the imports that I have to change. And the other thing that I have to think about is whether or not it's worth it to leave the context. I think it might be more efficient to leave like this though, instead of creating global variables here. Yeah, because it's gonna depend on the state anyway, so. But maybe I can merge the two, and then it's gonna be a lot more simple actually. So I pass all these variables inside of here, and then I don't need to. But the issue is that how we're gonna update the states, how, like the position of each one. I think this is the reason why I decided to leave like this. Is instead of doing everything on the one component. Because the main thing is the position of each one here. If you separate this on outside of on its own component, then you can just create one variable, one use state to update the position of that node, which is gonna change here. But if you put everything on the same components, like all the stuff on the same, but maybe there is a way to, I can just use an array for use states for all the positions, or I can use the cache and it's the same thing. Maybe that's better. Yeah, but the problem is the use drag here. That's the thing. Because each specific node has to have its own use drag thing. That's the problem. I think it's probably possible to do it in one component only. Just have to think more about it. And it's probably better, because then you don't need to use the context, and like you probably can remove some variables here as well. But I think I'm gonna leave it like this for now and see if it works here. So this would be everything inside of this canvas here.
Now, actually, it is absolutely absurd to say that we came into this world. We didn't. We came out of it. What do you think you are? Supposing this world is a tree. Are you leaves on its branches, or are you a bunch of birds that settled on a dead old tree from somewhere else? Surely, everything that we know about living organisms from the standpoint of the sciences shows us that we grow out of this world. That we, each one of us, are what you might call symptoms of the state of the universe as a whole. But you see, that is not part of our common sense. Western man has for many centuries been under the influence of two great myths. When I use the word myth, I don't necessarily mean falsehood. To me, the word myth signifies a great idea in terms of which man tries to make sense of the world.
Here. Yeah, I don't understand what's the problem here. Saying that is a problem with the import and export, but it looks like I'm exporting the component from this file. Nodes here. So maybe like it's this destruction, but I don't know why that would be the case. Like why it's different from this file to the other file. Yeah, I don't know. So it looks like it's working. So now I just have to figure out how to pass the data here. So that is the same as it was before. A preview cache is gonna be a dictionary. Then the data is gonna be list of node objects. So it's just gonna be the nodes. Let's see if this works. Could be because of the destructuring here. Also, I don't understand why it's looping forever. It should be the same thing. I don't understand why this one is not working. It's not iterable, but it's an array of 3 objects. This is exactly the same as the other one.
Now, the 2 images which have most profoundly influenced Western man are, number 1, the image of the world as an artifact, like a carpenter's table or a jar made by a potter. Indeed, in the book of Genesis, there comes the idea that man was originally a clay figurine made out of the earth by the Lord God, who then breathed into this clay figurine and gave it life. And the whole of Western thought is profoundly influenced through and through and through by the idea that all
Oh, maybe it's because of the context
all
here.
events, all people, all mountains, all stars, all flowers, all grasshoppers, all worms, everything are artifacts. They have been made. And it is therefore natural
Actually,
for a Western child to say to its mother, "How was I made?" That would be quite an unnatural question for a Chinese child. Because the Chinese
so that
do
solves the
not
loop,
think
I
of
think.
nature as something made. They look upon it as something that grows. And the 2 processes are quite different.
Let's do it like this. I don't understand. It's still looping forever as well. Now, honestly, I think I'm gonna stop here. I'm a little bit tired as well. I think this type of stuff is probably better to solve off stream. Because it's not hard, it's just changing everything, so like I don't feel like doing this on stream. It's probably better to stream once I get to the point where I have this stuff set up and I'm gonna try to figure out how to create the ID, I think. After maybe when I'm going to create the graph, the algorithm to receive the data. Like, I know that the WebSocket is working with localhost because I tested before. So like once I get to the point where in this component I only have the thing here, these other components, and then I'm passing the data and I have everything figured out. And then it gets time to create the algorithm that is going to receive the data from the WebSocket and then transform that data into the format that this component is going to receive to build the visualization. I think that part is probably more interesting to do on stream. And this is just more just changing the components, which is annoying, very confusing as well. And then after I do that, I'm probably gonna figure out how to do the ID after I set up. Because I think I want to get to the point where I have the whole system, like the loop, everything's set up. And I think then I will start thinking about different ways to change the graph based on the data. I think that's a better approach, because then I'm gonna have a better understanding of like how everything's gonna come together. And it's gonna allow me to think about the algorithms and the stuff that I'm gonna do to make the visualization better, easier, because then I'm gonna understand how the whole flow of information is gonna happen. So I think next step's probably gonna be right now, today, I think I'm gonna do this off stream, like fix this component here so it works in the way that it was working before and receives data. And then I think tomorrow I'm gonna figure out how to, maybe I'll do this event today, depending on how fast I change everything. I think I'm gonna watch some videos as well about this 3D programming to help me understand more as well. And this playlist here. But then after I do that, then I'm gonna focus on getting receiving the data from WebSocket or somewhere, and then converting that data into this format here that the component is gonna receive to build the visualization. I'm probably gonna do that in a separate file as well. And then once I figure that out, then I think I'm gonna start studying on how to put the ID here. And the idea is to have the ID on the left side and the visualization on the right side. And also the complicated part is gonna be, which I haven't figured out yet as well, is both the physics engine on the canvas and the position of the nodes there, because right now it's not taking into account the relative position of the canvas in relationship to the other elements in the page. The calculation of the new position here on the state is just taking into account the size property here of the canvas. So I'm gonna have to search on how to know like what is the relative position of the canvas. And like obviously I can get the elements, the position of the elements, and then do the calculations based on that. But I'm trying to think about a way that is more like resilient, that I can use, because if I do it based on the position of each element, then it's really annoying, because then every time that I'm gonna put something else in the page, I'll have to rethink about this calculation here. And ideally, I would be able to find a way that it just gets the relative position of the canvas in relationship to the window, and then uses that distance to calculate the positions here to update based on this use drag hook. So probably gonna work on some of this off stream today, and then I'll come back tomorrow, or maybe 2 days from now, I think. Maybe I'll come back tomorrow at night or later in the afternoon, and maybe I'll see So